welcome to our presentation about the insight ecosystem at Unilever. It was a presentation Mansoor and I also held at the ME last February here in Utrecht in the Netherlands, and as there was quite some attention and interest in the presentation, and not everybody could join that specific moment, we thought about organizing this webinar. So thanks for all your attention and your participation. Let me first introduce myself. I'm René Goud. I'm a research director of the qualitative team in the Netherlands, and I'm responsible for part of the team, but also for innovation. And during this presentation, my colleague Mansoor is also presenting a part of this webinar, and I like to give the word to Mansoor right now, who I can see is also online, so based in London. Mansoor.
Yes. Welcome. Hi, everyone, and I hope everyone can hear me. Thank you very much for joining, and we're actually equally excited to do this session as we were doing the first one. And yeah, I look after the personal care and shopper relationship for Unilever globally, based in London. So very excited to be on this session, yes.
Okay, thanks, Mansoor. But today it's not about Mansoor or about me, it's about Ratna. And Ratna is a global CMI director of the laundry division at Unilever, based in Singapore, and a very vibrant and energetic person, and she really loves to go beyond the obvious. She really wants to dig deeper. She wants to go further than the first answers, and she really sees that it's the nicest ways to combine the different sources and the different information she already has. And I think that's also a dream she has, because what she really is fond of, she really has so much information. As she's based in at Unilever, so you know, and most of you know, that there is the people's world where there is so many data available. But what would it be a beauty to combine all that information and turn it into that killer insight, which really helps her to kickstart the whole. To kickstart the thinking and the research behind the information, and so start a new, for instance, a commercial or a campaign with the information of the combination of the different sources. But how do you combine all that information? That is really her struggle, because it's so diverse and is so all those different elements can be so complex that it's not very logic that you just do it in a sec. But another problem is, how do you turn that killer insight that you found into a very in almost a living insight, in something that people really grasp and go start working with? So what do you do with the thing you found, especially when your colleagues are based all around the world? And if you go back to the different sources, and I think that's really the big challenge, is, as you can imagine, Unilever has a lot of different data. It has qualitative data, scan data, quant data, tracking data, well, all those different sources. But how do you link that together to get that, to turn that into that big opportunity, into that one killer insight? How do you bring all those sources together? And hey, you can see there's a difference in volume, there's a difference in the speed, so how fast can you access all the data? There is also a difference in the truth behind it, because you can imagine that qualitative research, that's all based on perception. but the quantitative data, scan data or shopping data, that can be very hard data. That's just counted, that's just scanned. So really true. So how to combine and bring it to life? And the bringing it to life, that was the next struggle, because Radna really feels that, well, the normal workshopping or sitting together for 3 days, that is really, well, it's almost impossible, of course, with a lot of agendas, everybody based globally, but it's also, it sometimes is not even that and inspiring anymore, and it takes a lot of effort to prepare the workshops, and so there are quite some hurdles, and it was the buzzword, but yeah, it's already a bit outdated. And as you know, have with a PowerPoint or with Prezi, you really need a presenter to bring it alive. So sharing that file is also not a good way of working. So there, it really so those two different struggles, she went to Ipsos and she discussed together what could be a solution for these struggles. So bringing together different sources and bringing it alive in an attractive way. And well, she spoke to a counterpart within Ipsos, and they thought about perhaps we should bring alive an inspirational ecosystem, which sounds, I think, quite high level and perhaps a bit cryptical. But the Insight Cloud, how it's also called, that could be the solution. And I want to try to explain what the Insight Cloud is and how they used it. Because as you can imagine, when you go to a library, you see a lot of books and all ordered alphabetically or perhaps on topic. But there are books next to each other. And if you have a good assistant, you will really find your way. And you can see this as the knowledge management systems within your companies. If you're lucky, you're having one. But it is books next to books. And you really have to read the book to grasp that knowledge, but then you only have the knowledge of that book, that specific book. And to capture the whole topic, you have to read all the books within the topics, or at least the most relevant ones, which takes you a lot of time to digest and to get the best out of it. But if you look at Einstein, those geniuses of their times, they have all the books in their head. They know everything. And they combine that knowledge to the next level, to the next insight or theory, and build from there their next thoughts. So that's, I think, also the difference when you think about a knowledge management system and an inspiration ecosystem like the Insight Cloud. One side you have everything book per book available, and the other side you have a genius who combines and who brings it to the next level. And I think that's quite the difference between the two systems. But how does it look like? What you see here is the home page. This is your landing page where you come in. And what you see there is at the top end, you see a cloud. And the cloud, and that's the dark box with the specs, with the icons, and all the icons stand for insights. So everything, and that's where the first barrier to combine information is already taken, because you bring every bit of knowledge you bring back to, or you turn it into an insight card. You can see what I have here, for instance. So that's an insight card, and that's the knowledge you took out of that research, what you find important to take along for the next step. And this insight card, you connect, as you can see at the right side, you can connect it with other insights found in other parts of the research or in other researches or other projects. Could be from really different sources, but can also be from different countries or different divisions. It is your choice how to structure it, but you can combine everything because everything is written like an insight or, and that's a specific, an observation when it's just a fact which you want like to capture. So if you, for instance, go to, you think, okay, this is an insight I find attractive. Hey, there is a next one connected. So if you click at the right side on the insight that is connected, you go to the next one. And you already can dive into the other one. So here you stroll through the insights and you really learn what is interesting and what is connected to each other to learn more about the different topics. If you then go a bit deeper, what you can see, because it's screen dump, so if you scroll down, you can even see that media is attached. So in the case of having an insight in this sense from ethnographics, you can just upload the different clips which were interesting from that ethnographic interview. So here you even can store media related to that insight. So this brings your insight to life. So it's not only text, but it's also enriched with the media, and in this sense it's video clips, but you can also imagine that it can be an article, that it can be a one-pager of the report, it can be a photo, it can be everything. So media in the broadest sense. The next possibility, and this is where you keep the insight alive, is the collaboration tab. So first you always, when you click on an insight card, you land on the home page, but then you also have the collaboration tab, and in that part you can, just like Facebook, you can comment as an when you're a member of the cloud, you can comment on the card and add new insights or add nuances or add media or articles or whatever you found related to the to this specific card. So this helps you as a company to keep the insights alive, elaborate on it, enrich it, but also feel get more of a feeling with what the insight means for you. So that well, that really helps to live and breathe an insight. But what's also a very nice part of the Insight Cloud is that next to storing and connecting insights and working with it and collaborate on it, is that you can work with the insights on this platform, and as an and which can be a part of a working session with your colleagues. And this is all online, so you don't have to be there face to face. What you do in this case, there was a drag and drop of 8 different insights which were found attractive for a specific topic, and you drag and drop the different cards to this specific specific live session, and you start a discussion with the ones who you link to it. So you can really have this as a working session, which is, if you want, online and very easily organized, because especially when you're CMI, you don't have the desk research and everything up front. You just drag and drop your cards and you start the session, which is already on an insight level, which is also very nice, of course, and a good starting point. So this is sort of the starting point for that inspirational part, which is very interesting for for Ratna also, because this is the part when she thought about how do I bring the whole insight to life and let everybody work with it. So this really helps her to get everything also up and running and don't that it don't doesn't end up in somewhere in a cupboard or in a mailbox. So I hope you now have kind of a feeling what the Insight Cloud is about. And now I like to hand it over to Mansoor, who takes you a little bit deeper into Ratna's world.
Okay, thank you, Renee. Yeah, so what obviously you just saw is a very inspirational ecosystem where what we're really trying to do is to connect the dots of all the information points that you as owners and custodians of insights have to deal with across various documents, across various presentation reports. And a lot of times it does happen that there are so many of those data points that you're dealing with and that you're struggling to connect them together and trying to understand what is all of this together telling me as a collective insight, as a collective understanding. And through this platform, through this ecosystem, you can bring all those things together, as Renee was saying. But the next step of that is, let's say you were able to do that, you were able to put those insights on the Insight Cloud. But there is a but there. It's great, but then how do I take this forward? And this is what I'm going to talk to you about in terms of how we were able to take it not only forward in Unilever, but make it a very inspirational thing within Unilever. It was something that Unilever themselves said that they never thought the information could be dealt with in this manner. We co-wrote a paper with them, presented at the ISOMAR. They're very proud of this as a very giant leap forward in terms of dealing with multiple data points or big data, small data coming together and giving them the right sense of direction. So if you go to the next slide, I can probably move it from here. Yes. What we are really talking about here are different, business issues that you might be dealing with. So for example, solve or unlock a business issue. It could be a challenge or an opportunity. Capture and grow a set of information, let's say on naturals, for example, as a topic, or let's say millennials or male specific or Gen Z, whatever. Collaborate and ideate, which is basically what Renee was talking about a while back, where the live boards could be set up, where you bring together only the insights that you really need to discuss it together, exchange ideas, and do ideation on top of that. Or speed to market, where you want to respond to a certain opportunity, for example, or an innovation that you want to bring into the market. And rather than going through the whole process of, first of all, going in a rewind kind of situation, taking it up from there to the whole innovation funnel, what if that information is readily available to you and you can just work with it to be able to come up with an innovation, test it, and then launch it in a very short period of time. So we wanted to always link it with some sort of action point rather than just saying, well, oh, we have this platform, it does this for you, then leave it up to you to think about it. So the starting point always is to look at the set of let's say information that you have, big data, small data, qual, quant. And when we started working with Unilever on a specific topic, we started looking at about 25 to 30 reports, some in another cases even more. And they were very varied in terms of, in terms of the type of research they were. So whether they were related to communication, innovation, strategic understanding pieces, innovation. And we started looking at them and say, okay, we need to curate insights that are coming out of it. So when I say curate, it's a process that is a step after we sift through that data. So it's not that we just copy paste whatever the top headlines were in those reports. We look at those reports in entirety. We look at the connections that the different information sets are making. We debate them at a very senior level. And then from that, we take out the most important, the direction which is coming out of it, the theme which has come out of it, and that's what we call curation. And curation is really is kind of a storytelling, really. to write it in a way where it becomes a narration, where when somebody reads it, it almost feels like reading a newspaper story, where things are connected for you, and you're basically trying to absorb the information, absorbs the insight, rather than looking at it and saying, okay, now I have to think about how it comes how it all comes together. So that was the first step of it. So we started working them on a certain business issue, took all that work that they have done, sat together at a very senior level, and started connecting the dots and curating that information. So that's the first step, where, of course, the process started off. The next step was to really, upload that curated information on the Insight Cloud, and bringing it to life. And that is a very important part of it, because we not only want to put the tensions, the stories, the observations, and all those things, but we also want to bring it alive by manifestations, by multimedia assets. So we might look at ads that we upload on this, so you could see, well, if this is an insight, then how is it that it is coming to life in different aspects today? So you can understand how various players are bringing it to life. It could be your ads, it could be other ads, things like that. So we actually bring it alive from that aspect as well. And through this, then you start getting the inspiration. Why we call it an inspiration ecosystem? Because you want CMI to work with it, but you also want your internal stakeholders to work with it. And one of the challenges that I'm sure you are facing in your work, in your world, is that you do a lot of research, but then the usability of that research is not that efficient. And a lot of times, really good pieces of work or extensive pieces of work are not fully utilized because of time pressures, because of lack of inspiration, because of things that we mentioned earlier, where you have to work through so many documents that you say, well, that's too much for me. So by bringing it together inside cloud, creating that ecosystem, creating inspiration, we are creating something that will live and not die. And that's what the whole objective is, really. So once we've done that, the third step is to activate it. And when we say activate, it's a very important thing, because a lot of companies now don't like the word workshops. They don't like it because it tends to be boring and same thing going over and over again. So when we were thinking about doing it, we started thinking about a hackathon kind of situation, where we let people work with the Insight Cloud, first of all, because Insight Cloud does not need a rewind, because whatever, the curation, the sifting, the compilation, all of this is already done. And the most important assets coming out of that set of data, reports, charts, content, whatever you want to call it, is already available in a very alive way, in a very curated way, as I explained earlier. So they work with that and come up with, let's say if the idea was to come up with product ideas. So they come up with product ideas, and then those product ideas are pitched to a jury. And that jury can comprise of, let's say, people from your company, people from the agency, and super consumers. So you can actually have 5-6 people sitting there, very apprentice kind of an approach. And you go and pitch to them and say, look, what do you think about this idea? And then you get immediate feedback. So we actually started to come up with these type of live sessions, these type of exciting sessions, these kind of forward-thinking sessions, where the end user is also part of it, rather than doing just a workshop kind of situation. Now, this is not necessary. I mean, there could be objectives like collaboration objectives. There could be discussion objectives where you don't need to do this. You don't need to do this end step of activation, but rather the activation could be action points coming out of those discussions, and each of the team go back and start working on it, which could be, I don't know, writing an idea or a concept, or from there to looking at your product portfolio and brand architecture and things like that. Imagine you're working on trends, future trends, and you want to work with the trends to define your future product portfolio, to critically evaluate whether your portfolio is ready to address these, or which parts of your portfolio is ready to address these, and how, in terms of communication, is where these are the kind of objectives Insight Cloud could be very, very helpful for. As evolved as that, or as simple as, okay, let's talk about the millennials opportunity, and what do we know about millennials and how they are thinking let's say related to a particular category, can be, and it doesn't have to be FMCG, can be banking, can be travel, can be anything else really, services. As long as you have that insight, you can bring it together, have a discussion on it, or dive into it and pull out that information and then work with it. Because that's what you have, all everything in one place, all connected with each other, brought alive through assets, multimedia assets, manifestations. So you get the ideas where to go with that. So as I said, you don't need to do this activation in this way. There are so many other ways you could benefit from this. So for the Unilever, we did do this, and which was very much appreciated, and came up with action points that were then implemented. And there is a paper, as I said, which is already published in Isomar, which happened last time in Berlin. And you could read that, and you could see that they actually activated this. They launched something on fragrance, and it was very well received by the consumers, and they were able to gain share very quickly. So we know that it works. And then there are now many discussions on how we could take it forward in terms of its embedding into Unilever, but also how we can keep it future-proof, so it keeps alive rather than dying. So the result of that exercise that we did with them on fragrance was that the input obviously the output was much bigger than input, or the reverse is true. And we came up with 8 mega territories. We came up with 30 stories and 20 opportunities. Now, these are tangible numbers coming out of zero primary research. So we didn't do any primary research. We worked with what they had across disciplines, across types of researchers, cross objective researches, and trying to unlock a challenge that they had. And we worked with this to come up with this much content that they were able to use then to strategize and move forward. At the end, Unilever's view was that it's insights on demand, it's speed to market, it's derivative, so not limited. It's an early warning system because it keeps itself alive by the contribution of various stakeholders. And if something is emerging, that you could easily identify that rather than waiting for it to manifest itself in a big way and then you're kind of responding to it. There is auto curation potential in this, which basically means that you could set up some sort of system where the information can come automatically in this. There would be a little bit of a role of curators, of human curators in this, but there is a big chunk of automatic feed coming into the Insight Cloud, which can also be activated. There is flexibility, as you could see, that there are so many things that we could do with this in terms of objectives, in terms of the multimedia assets or information that we can upload on this. There's transference because obviously, it is completely online and completely digital, and it's about really socializing insights, because you really want people to engage with it. You really want, as we say, you can search like Google, you can post like Facebook, and you can trend like Twitter. This is what really defines Insight Cloud and how it works. So I would just show you the video of Ratna. I'm trying to bring that to the thing. Would you be able to do that, Renee? Oh yeah, here it comes, I think.
It started with a really simple idea, synthesizing a breadth of data that we had, call, quant, agency, print media, advertising into one cloud. The biggest advantage of this cloud is speed to market. Every time we do a workshop, we get into this phase of rewind, where we're collecting all our reports and trying to make a rewind. But this eliminates the entire process. So we are into the workshop, there's a live rewind happening on the cloud every single minute of the day, in fact. Secondly, it's insights on demand. So when I want them, I get them. My team can see them, my marketing team can see them, my R&D team can see them, and the senior leadership in my office can actually get a bird's eye view of all these insights. Like I mentioned, we can take the insights, put them on a cloud, we can talk to each other and build concepts online together. And not only all that, it's an early warning system for us, because there is a particular way in which we have curated the insights. There is more feed coming in. There are new blob suites which are being formed. And as these bubbles form, we know that these are the new insights we need to look at.
Yeah, so as they say, from the horse's mouth. So this was Ratna, as we were referring to her earlier. And yeah, so I would like to just end by saying, that, today's business environment is that either you disrupt or be disrupted, because the way things are moving so fast with digital technology really taking over consumers' life, and also that impacting the way we do business, and the innovation, the redefinition of really innovation and what it means to consumers, how they are consuming it, and the speed to which you need to go to the market. There is no time to follow a linear process of innovation. There's a lot of test and learn kind of situation which exists, and I'm sure you might be doing it in your organizations. There is a lot of emphasis on getting into the market much quicker than it used to be before. And with that, a lot of things are changing. Processes and approach in your organization might be changing, but at the same time, the way we are responding to it as Ipsos is also changing, because we are very much focused on keeping pace with this environment rather than blocking that environment, saying, no, we still need to do that kind of rigor, we still need to do that kind of process. We know that the faster we move and keep an eye on the fact that things that are going are reliable to you and you can still make good decisions on that, we're happy with moving ahead. And this is just one of the efforts that are coming out of this. And the other thing that we're doing as Ipsos is we are collaborating with other partners that you have. Could be other agencies, could be technology, could be other companies that you're working with, where we can come together and bring that element of expertise and interpretation of consumer insights or consumer feedback that a lot of times technology companies would not be able to do. So we are marrying technology into research. We are translating it for you so you can make better use of it. And we are open to collaboration. And that is why Insight Cloud is an open platform. It is not restricted to Ipsos only. You can give access to other agency partners. You can give access to media houses. You can give access to advertising agencies. It's up to you. Once you sign on this, then it's an open platform and there is no restriction, which shows our collaborative approach of a future of business really that we adhere to. So that's it from me and Renee. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer.